The early part of the year is always showtime for the Nash team, and we was doing our bit travelling around Europe. We'd done the Brentwood show in Essex, which was really good, and then gone on to Zwolle in Holland, which is always an amazing week. And yeah, I enjoyed the shows. It was nice seeing all the people again and talking a lot about fishing, but of course talking about it just made me want to get the rods out, and I had nothing booked up or anything like that, so I was hastily trying to put together a trip where we could actually get the rods out for a few days. And well, we found one venue we could go to in northern France, which was Jurassic Lake, and it's a nice big lake. I wanted somewhere big and sort of open to fish, and this one fitted the bill perfectly. Nearly 200 acres, open and windswept. You know, what I didn't bank on was the storms that we were having to battle through in the early part of the year. Desmond and Cara were all making life pretty difficult for us, but we had swim 8 reserved. There was no other carp anglers on the lake, and that was the swim we was advised to have a go at by Paul Armfield, and good advice. We had a cabin as well, and the only problem was the cabin was down the other end of the lake, which was ideal for Joan. At least she would be tucked away in a bit of comfort, but I'd be out in the elements battling against the storms and doing my best to catch a carp or two. Well, it's certainly not the best conditions for doing anything. This is about as calm as it's been since we arrived, so it's the last rod I'm getting out now. Got 3 out in various spots. God, I mean the wind has been so strong that storm Kyra, whatever it is. I mean, it was literally too strong to do anything yesterday. Really, put the rods out by the cabin, but that didn't do any good. I mean, it's going to be a struggle anyway. You know, it's going to be a result if I get anything carp wise anyway. You know, and the problem isn't getting out here and back. That's easy enough. Quite a big citrus and scopet squid combination that is. This is the problem. You know, to actually feel down. I know this plateau comes up off the bottom, you know, 3 or 4 feet. It's actually quite soft on top, and yeah, and what I'm trying to do is feel around for like a little bit of a firmer spot. But of course, in this wind, as soon as you put the engine off, it just spins you around all over the place and you start drifting, normally away from the way you want to go as well. Oh, that's nice though. Bonk, that's hard. Right, that's going to do, because that is in the right depth, in the right area. It's about where I wanted to drop it. It's not bad. I'm going to leave that there. Not even going to move it anymore. Bit of hemp around. Not much, because I baited this area a bit earlier. Well, you know, there's nothing particularly precise about that presentation, but it's out there. That's the point. I mean, the number of carp in this lake, but it's known as being very difficult anyway, and that's all through the year. February, I should imagine it's going to be nigh on impossible, but we'll see. You never know, might get lucky. More than likely not, but who knows. A lot of water out there though. 200 acres, whatever. Right. There we go, fishing, we're angling. For much of the time the weather was pretty horrendous, and there was plenty of it when I didn't really want to get a bite at all. I just didn't want to go out in it. But when it did calm down a little bit from time to time, it did show that it was possible to get a bite or two. Unfortunately, it wasn't really from my target species. Even if it is a big one. Yeah, rudd, actually, not a roach. I was advised by Guillaume, the owner, to try one right up in the top bay, and it was on the extreme range of the line I had on my spools. But within an hour I did get a bite on that rod, and I really thought I was into a carp. Oh, I don't believe that. I was rule out it's a tench. After the tench, I hooked something that felt absolutely massive. It turned out to be a huge sturgeon of about 70 pounds. So I wasn't getting the fish I wanted, but I was patient and I kept fishing, and eventually I did get a carp. Success. There we go, 25 pound. Lovely winter common. You know, middle of February, freezing cold, gale force winds, that storm is a joke. But I can still catch them anyway. That's the main thing. It was only a brief few days on the lake, but it was enjoyable, and in conditions which were pretty horrendous, to be honest. I was pleased to have wangled out a carp at least. Once we was back in the UK, my thoughts turned to a bit of UK fishing for a change, as that's what I normally miss out on, travelling away so much. But I got in touch with my old mate Tom Duncan Dunlop, and he was up for a little trip down to a lake in West Sussex. So we agreed to meet up early one morning and get the rods out and hopefully catch a UK carp for a change. One of those places where you can get bites, but you have to work at it. You have to work out what the fish are doing, and they're always on guard. So it's a little bit tricky, but they're catchable if you do it right. I went in with my usual plan of attack with citrus in all its forms. Citrus pop-ups over the crumb, the pellet, mixed in with the syrup. And it started off well, got a couple of bites out in the middle part of the lake. Tom was getting a few along the island margin that was out in front of him, but it started to quieten off for me. And I did notice that there was some movement in front of the rod tips, and it's an old saying, never ignore the margins, but sometimes that saying is so true. And I dropped a bait, literally less than a rod length out, half a rat as Ollie would call it, and that was the game changer. I caught two good fish, probably the best fish that were out the lake that day, in the last hour, hour and a half on that margin rod. With a bit of time still to spare, I turned my attentions to Thorny Weir Lake, which is really local to me, and a cracking water. Unfortunately, it had been affected by the storms as well. So to start with, I fished one of the easier swims to fish, but I soon realised that really I was on the wrong side of the lake, and the weather was against me too, you know, with snowstorms and cold water conditions. It wasn't very nice, but I did realise I needed to be on the other side of the lake, but that came with its own problems. nice to be doing a little bit of time in England again. My time over here in the UK is always limited, even though I've got some lovely waters actually on my doorstep like this one. You know, this is a cracking lake, and you know, 5 minutes from my house. I always wish I had more time to sort of put in a bit of time on here, really. But there we go, I'm here now, so you know, making the most of what I can of it. And I like it here actually. It's a nice lake, and nice to get back in the English style of fishing as well. You know, it's a little bit different sometimes to all the stuff that I do abroad. I tend to use pop-ups a lot more in English style fishing. You know, bottom baits and sort of snowmen's are the go-to method for continental waters, but yeah, little hinge rig pop-ups have always done me good on UK waters, so that's what I've got out there, 3 little citrus pop-ups on hinge rigs. You know, citrus is just my go-to bait for this time of year when it's a little bit chilly, cold, through the winter months. You know, citrus just comes out on top every time. It's so good. Over, you know, sort of a variety of the citrus stuff, the crumb mix, the stick mix, the pellet, the syrup, you know, and a few other bits and pieces, tin of sweet corn in there with it, and some hemp just to mix it up a bit. And so, and a few whole boilies as well. So there's like a carpet of bait, and I'm spomming that out. And you are allowed to use bait boats on here, which, yeah, I don't mind using bait boats, but I'm not using one now. I'm spomming out over the spot, so just about 5 or 6 spoms, nice little tight area, and just fishing the citrus pop up over the top of that. So let's hope that does the job. Oh, it's early morning. But the great news is, oh, just had one. Not a big one, but oh, brilliant. Lost one yesterday off this same spot just down there by the barge. Little citrus pop-up. God, quite a chilly morning, quite frosty. Still very wet, as you can see. Yeah, it's a good thing about barbless hooks, they do come out easy. Yeah, what I like about this place, besides being so close to home, is that it's still got a wild feel about it. You know, it's a day ticket water, but it's still got quite a nice wild feel to it. And there is some cracking scaly mirrors in here. So this one ain't one of the biggest, but it is one of those lovely fish that the lake is known for. Look at that, absolute beauty. Lost one yesterday afternoon on the same rod, which was a real shame. Gutted about that, but yeah, sure enough, just a few minutes ago it's gone off, and this one sort of made up for it, so there we go. Honestly, this barra has got to be one of the best things I've ever got hold of. All that gear on there, I can do this one-handed. Different class. Just down for the day today. I've been doing the odd nights here and there, a couple of nights really, bivvying up and doing the usual thing. But when I've been leaving, the fish that I've seen actually on me walks round have been in little corners, little tucked away bays, and really one rod swims. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm just down for the day using one rod, and I've just got that one rod on the best spot in the area. No point in putting too many lines out. Most swims there's always one spot that's better than the others, but when you're in a tiny little corner it's just better to do it like this really, just one rod. So let's hope it does the trick. There we go. Not massive, but very nice little scaly mirror. Well pleased to see this one. It was a bit all or nothing today. I decided just to fish with one rod and put it on the best spot. And well, as the saying goes, one rod on the right spot is better than three in the wrong spots. So well, got it right today anyway. Happy days. All around there were signs that winter was finally starting to come to an end. It had been quite a rough one with storms, high water, floods, some cold conditions too. But now there were signs of spring starting to show its presence all around. Flowers are starting to come out, birds starting to build their nests, and temperatures were starting to rise again. It was looking good for a bit of fishing. Unfortunately, times have changed and things are getting in the way, but hopefully before too long we can get back to normal, get the rods out, catch a few spring carp. See you next time.